Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's online edition of the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series presented by the MAVTV Motorsports Network. It's Lucas Oil ASCS E-Series action tonight for the Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. Joining me on the broadcast, of course, it will be the voice of the Knoxville Raceway, Mr. Tony Bachhoven. Tony, calling the action last night in the Knoxville Invitational, and quite the evening as Brian Brown secured his Knoxville Raceway Virtual Championship.
It was a great evening and a great three-race series that we held here at virtual Knoxville Raceway, and a lot of exciting racing last night. And you know, as we were joking before the show started tonight, everybody gets really serious when they pull up behind their wheel and pedals and their desktop, and it made for some really exciting racing action, even between our virtual series champion Brian Brown and his regular race night crew chief Chad Morgan.
Yeah, in fact, Chad Morgan going to be in action here tonight. A little bit of a latecomer to the roster, and we're fortunate we're able to fit him in. And right now, Chad Morgan fastest in practice with a lap time of 15.544 seconds. And Tony, how far off of the times you see at Knoxville on a weekly basis are you seeing within iRacing week to week?
Well, you know, in comparison to Chad's time there, not too far off, actually. And so that's been one of the cool things as we've talked to drivers. There are some things that are very realistic and some things that are not, but what we're seeing here is the times in many cases are very close to what you would normally see on race night.
And it's really amazing the detail that iRacing has within this game. And just to look around Knoxville in the time I've spent in the pit area and the grandstands and the press box, it's astounding to look at this and see everything.
The only thing that I miss on the broadcast here is the concession folks bringing us snacks during the night.
I could definitely go for some of those spicy chicken wings.
I hear you.
So Chad Morgan fastest right now, again with a 15.544. Tanner Holmes second fastest currently with a 15.653. Justin Cox, who led the first 17 laps of last week's showdown at Williams Grove Speedway, currently third fastest at a 15.699. Last week's winner, Colton Hardy, at a 15.701. And Roger Crockett currently fifth fastest, 15.709 seconds.
So the track coming in pretty nice here as you take a look down the virtual front straightaway toward turn number 4. You start to see that shine, Brian, starting to form there about the flag stand.
You know, and that's another thing about this game, the way the track wears and where it goes. It's, you know, being at Williams Grove last week in the virtual, it was eerily similar to what we saw in 2018, the first time that the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series was there, how the track, you know, was at the top and then migrated to the bottom and started opening back up in the middle a little bit there towards the end of the night. So even looking at it right now as we look at turns 1 and 2 back towards the grandstands, you know, that bottom really starting to come in.
Yeah, it sure is, and I think it, like we saw last night, the track was really racy come feature time, and I would expect tonight with the caliber and quality and quantity of cars we have, we'll see a very exciting race here tonight as well.
Scheduled for a 60-car field here in our Lucas Oil ASCS eSports Showdown at the virtual Knoxville Raceway. Currently, 41 drivers have taken to the track.
Format for tonight, of course, this practice session here, then we'll go into qualifying. They'll get 2 minutes to turn 2 really fast laps. We're looking at about 6 heat races. Top 3 out of each of those 6 heat races will be 8 laps in distance. Top 3 move on. We'll have a D main, 12 laps. Top 4 will go to the C. Then from the C main, which will also be 12 laps, we'll take the top 4 and stack them on the tail of the B. The B main's 12 laps, where we'll take 6 cars and pile them into the A, and we'll have a 24-car, 35-lap A main championship event here tonight.
Learned a couple things off of last week's initial broadcast, now coming into week number 2, and a couple of the changes last week. The caution laps did not count, and the cautions were actually controlled through iRacing. This week, they will count under the way that iRacing is set up, and we will actually have control over the caution. So in heat races, you won't see the caution at all in order to speed up the program and keep everything rolling throughout the evening.
That's probably, Brian, one of the things that the first couple shows that I did that caught me off guard was when you see 2 or 3 cars pile into the fence and we just keep right on racing. I was waiting for that yellow flag or the red flag to come out, and we just kept right on rolling.
You know, that's one of the things we're so used to, you know, calling races in the real. You see a car spin and stop or go upside down, you immediately, instinctively go, oh, yellow, or oh, red.
Right.
And in this case, you just kind of keep going with whatever you're doing.
Boy, watching those cars out there practice really makes me Jones for some real racing, I'm telling you.
You know, and of course now Knoxville Raceway, their season has been delayed twice now.
Yeah, so now we're looking at the middle of May, and everyone has their fingers crossed that will in fact happen. The good news is the governor of the state of Iowa is finally coming to her senses and starting to open up a few things, and so hopefully that will allow us to get back to the racetrack sooner than later.
Of course, this weekend originally we were supposed to be out in the state of Tennessee for Volunteer Speedway. Next weekend was to be the 11 Oaks Farm Battle of the Groves. Unfortunately, those two dates being called off as the governor of Pennsylvania extending the stay-at-home order through about the middle of May. And then today, hearing also that in Michigan, their stay-at-home order has been extended. So I-96 Speedway has already been rescheduled post-Knoxville Nationals. That will actually take place on August 28th and 29th, along with the Great Lakes Super Sprints.
You know, like you, Brian, I'm friends with a lot of track promoters, and boy, your heart just has to go out to them, because what people don't realize is they have to spend the money up front in a lot of cases to get insurance coming and concessions on their way, and the upgrades that have to happen to the track after the off season. And when they don't get to start turning revenue at the beginning of the season, that it makes it really hard on them.
You know, and that's one of the things that we've seen, where a lot of tracks, fortunately, have gotten to where they can open up and rent their track, and you've seen people go out and start to test their cars. So some tracks have been able to kind of generate that revenue like you're talking about, but not having that weekly gate, both front and back, and your concession sales and everything, it really is. It's taken a toll. In fact, we saw Port Royal posted that they've suspended their season until further notice. They haven't canceled, they haven't closed shop, but they have suspended until further notice.
So we'll hope that everything comes back to somewhat normal here sooner than later. And of course, our prayers and best wishes go out to those that are affected around the country by the virus. Someone that Brian and I know quite well, Chuck Stowe, a photographer, been around racing a long time. He's currently in the Des Moines hospital with the COVID-19, and so we wish him well too.
You know, Chuck, one of the great photographers of our time, has caught some of the most prolific images in motorsports. So definitely, like you said, our thoughts and prayers going out to him, and just like you said, everybody that's affected by this, whether indirectly or directly. It's been a huge blow to the entire economy. And if you'd have told me this is where we were going to be, you know, in April at the end of the year, I thought you were watching too much Sci-Fi Channel. But you know, this is the reality that we're living in now.
Yeah, for sure. You know, who'd have thought, Brian, when we left the Chili Bowl that we'd be looking at the middle of April and neither one of us turned a lap at a racetrack yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was able to go out to Arizona and California and call some races, and we had a great start. 51 cars for 3 races out of 4 and 48 at the 4th. And, you know, full head of steam, looked like it was just going to be a huge season, and all of a sudden, like, they didn't just take the wind out of our sails, they cut the sails down.
Still some good some practicing going on out there. It's amazing how racy they get in practice, isn't it?
Looked like Alex Sewell and looked like McCarl we're kind of dicing it up there. And like you said, even during practice, it's amazing how they're able to get out there and dice it up like that.
You know, a car to watch tonight, Brian, will be Kate Higday, currently 8th in the practice times. They're at 15.570. The last couple weeks, as I've been getting onto iRacing myself, I've had the chance to get in some of these races at night with these guys. And Kate Higday, one of those guys that really, really has got this sim racing figured out and has been very fast at times. So he'll be fun to watch. Last night, had marched his way from the back of the feature up to about 5th spot, got into an altercation with another car and had to fall back a little bit, but certainly one of these sim racers that you'll want to watch tonight.
He had a pretty good run going last week with us at Williams Grove. He got tied up in kind of somebody else's mess there in one of the alphabet races, so that took him out early. But he was one, I didn't realize how much he had iRaced until I kind of went and started exploring his profile, and he's definitely turned some laps.
So he'll be fun to watch.
Of course, looking at some of the different licenses that these drivers have, Chad Morgan, he has an A-class license on iRacing. Colton Hardy has what they call a WC or World Championship license. That's the top tier license in iRacing. There's very few that actually have that rookie status on iRacing that are going to be racing here tonight.
Yeah. I just got my rookie license achievement this past week on the dirt tracks. I'll tell you, when I got my iRacing account and got my sim all set up, I thought, oh, this will be no problem, right? I'll be able to go out there and rack right through these things, get my licenses, and boy, I'm telling you something, Brian, it is not as easy as it looks.
and you and me have had this conversation, talking to drivers and the difference between going from being able to feel the car to just having to rely on what you see on the screen. And one thing that you brought up in talking to Brownie is the ability to feel the car through the force feedback of the steering wheel.
Yeah, you'll hear guys talk about with a lot of these, like the Fanatec wheel that I have and many of the others, you can adjust the sensitivity to that wheel and the amount of force feedback you get. And you'll hear these drivers, David Gravel was another one, Brownie, and some of these that talk about at certain tracks they will increase or decrease the amount of sensitivity to better feel the front end of the race car. And so you really never think about the impact that force feedback really matters. It's not just another another feature of the game. It's something that these drivers, the professional ones anyway, really pay attention to.
I think you're saying Gravel, because he live streams himself, he had actually said, hang on, I need to stop, and went in and made the adjustments.
Right.
Based off what you're saying.
Yeah, just stop the game, went in, you can make a couple adjustments, you go back out. And it's everything. It's not just the wheel sensitivity. You can adjust the braking sensitivity. When you hook this baby up, when you tap the brakes, man, it'll about turn you 7 ways from Sunday. And so you got to back the sensitivity off, and so that you can use that brake, and a lot of these drivers, you'll hear them talk about they use the brake to turn the car. And so they're able to make those tweaks and adjustments to be as close to what they feel in their real car.
And that's just crazy. And going back to some of the detail within iRacing, I just realized you can see traffic going by turns 1 and 2.
One of the great mysteries in life, next to where the white and snow goes when it melts, is who are these people that drive past the racetrack on race nights and not come to the races?
Exactly.
Who are they? What do they do with their lives?
If you have a chance to go to a racetrack, especially Knoxville, you should go.
I mean, I've always wondered that. It's like, why aren't those people here? Why are they out driving around?
You're not a race fan. You're just wrong.
Well, you would assume that in a town like Knoxville that there wouldn't be a soul on the streets on race night, but that's not the case.
You'd think it'd be like high school football in West Texas.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, speaking of high school football, I don't know about in Tulsa and near where you're at, Brian, but here in Iowa, they're doing Friday night lights. So all the football fields are turning their lights on tonight, and then they have them on until just after dusk, and then they shut them off. But just kind of they're doing it in honor of the high school kids that don't get to participate in their summer sports, and those kids that don't get to have their graduations this year and stuff like that. It's kind of a neat little thing.
It really, I haven't seen that going on around Tulsa. I did see where I think Knoxville had posted a picture. I think you had retweeted it where they had the lights on and they were going to be doing that. And that's something really neat to, for the kids to let them know, hey, we understand the emotion and what you're going through, and it's kind of a reminder of, like everything, this too shall pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass
for sure. So Chad Morgan's still getting faster and faster, Brian. Nobody's been able to turn that 15.543, I believe that is right now, on his fastest lap.
Now still the closest is Tanner Holmes, and he's still just over a tenth of a second off.
Yep.
At a 15.653. Justin Cox actually bettered his time a little bit, 15.699. Colton Hardy at a 15.701, and Roger Crock is still at a 15.709. Brian Brown currently sixth fastest, 15.740.
And for those fans that are watching at home, here's one of the cool things about iRacing is we can go on board with these drivers. Here's a in-car look on the Swindell Speed Labs in-car cam looking back. But we'll get a chance tonight during the race to go in-car with some of these drivers. We'll be able to get a word with some of them as we're racing throughout the night. But there's lots of really cool camera angles as part of the iRacing package. Suspension cameras, cockpit cameras, all kinds of cool stuff. Here's a look from the top of the car, on top of the top wing.
We're right along with Alex Sewell.
What I also think is pretty neat in this view here, Brian, is you get a real sense of how narrow that cushion is around the top of the racetrack.
I was just looking at that, and what's also neat is you see how interactive the car really is in the game and how much it really is winging over, and you can tell when the car starts to transition back and start to pin that right rear.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty cool. A lot of neat things here as part of the iRacing package, and you'll get to experience that tonight, race fans, as we march our way through what's going to be an exciting 60-car program here tonight.
Looks like so far we've had 43 drivers come out and take a little bit of time. 4, 5, 6, 7 have checked in. So again, 60 drivers invited. Of course, some of them maybe finding out the last minute they're not going to be able to play, and nevertheless, we're going to have a fun evening.
JJ Yaley, even one of those cars that's been out on the racetrack.
Yes, Yaley turned in some laps with us last week at Williams Grove Speedway and didn't quite get the rookie flag taken off. He's going to try to get that done here tonight.
You know, Seth Bergman, who's 22nd fastest on the practice chart right now, had in 3 of our virtual championship races this last 3 Thursday nights, had 3 top 3 finishes. Another one of those guys that just missed the win, a couple of those nights by just a hair. And so he'll be fun to watch tonight too, especially he's turned a lot of laps on this track, so it should be quite familiar to him.
So coming down to about the last 30 seconds of practice before we're going to go into qualifying. Now, qualifying, it'll all be done on their own servers. We won't actually see it, but we'll start to see the times manifest here. And it takes, like I said, about 2 minutes for everybody is the time they're given to come out and post their best 2 laps. The qualifying will set the heat race lineups. Half the field will be inverted into our heat races, and then after that, the top 3 from each will move on into the A. Everybody else dropping up straight up into the alphabet.
Wouldn't it be great if real qualifying only took 2 minutes?
Right? Again, we'll be back. So reaching the 25-minute mark, practice is going to be coming to a close here in just a little bit. And Chad Morgan again so far. We'll see if this carries over into qualifying. 15.544 seconds. Fastest time turned in practice. Feel like we need to call Whitey.
Right.
We'll be able to sneak in and look at a couple of these cars, why they come out and qualify, and kind of check things out here. I believe right now we're looking at
Matt Johnson.
That's right, Knoxville Raceway regular. The Agape Farms, Tanner Peterson. True Bill Construction Services, K-Doc Motorsports number 2. We'll be able to flip through a couple of these and check them out as they're coming out. Again, we won't actually watch each individual car come out and qualify. You'll see right there where the times start to manifest. Roger Crockett right now has the time to beat at a 15.899.
Chad Morgan, the driver that was fastest in practice, now 4th on the speed charts with a 16.028.
Speaking of Chad Morgan, the ShopRico.com 50. Anton Hernandez, the Baldwin Motorsports 5 machine, just finishing up his lap time.
You know, my favorite part about having some of these guys like Hernandez race is hearing you say it in native tongue. Dylan Westbrook
is here tonight, and I messed up last week too. I thought I had Dylan in on the league. He had been in the practice. I thought we were good to go, and at the last second, he messaged me, and I realized I hadn't added him. So, and it was absolutely my fault, and I felt terrible about it, and made sure that he had the invite. It was there, and good to see that he was able to get in. Speaking of JJ Yaley.
There he is. Roger Crockett up on top the speed charts, 15.399.
So reaching the end of qualifying, and looks like we'll have 43 drivers officially time in.
Great field.
So what should be a fun night of virtual racing. Something to get used to on the lineups is on this, your pole, when they put the side-by-side back up, it's like looking at a stop staging for like an F1 race where your pole guy's actually up on the right. at the very top.
I'm glad you said that. Because I would have completely missed that.
it threw me off the last week at first. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So just something to give you a heads up on whenever you're watching this. And heat race number 1, Mr. Bachhoven, if you're ready.
Well, absolutely. So the cars are making their way into virtual staging right now. Virtual Whitey. How about that, Brian? Virtual Whitey. Now they're getting the cars ready to go.
We've got virtual Terry and virtual Justin up in the flag stand.
And virtual Wally behind the wheel of the pace truck. It's a crazy world we live in.
Let's see, who's the pace truck provider again?
Pella Motors.
That's right.
All right, so we'll get our lineup here on the screen for you, and we'll get the cars rolling onto the racetrack for heat race number 1. On the pole, Ray Allen Kohanek in the car numbers 21, and outside of the front row, the 24 of Cade Higday. Row 2 on the inside, Tony Gualda from California in the double nines, and alongside of him, starting fourth, the 125 of Scott Thomason. Your third row, Chance Crum in the 83, and your quick qualifier, Roger Crockett, will start on the outside of row number 3. Danny Sams the third lines up on the inside of row number 4 in the 24, and to his outside, TJ Hartman in the 19. Your final row, Kale Connolly into 3 alongside of J.J. Yaley in the 31. You have to say it like that, right?
Yeah.
So while he has the Pella Motors iRacing pace truck out on the racetrack getting set to go, there's a look at Ray Allen Kohanek in the Snap-on 21 pacing the field around as we get ready to go to the green flag. 8 laps to get into the distance. The top 3 cars, I believe, will be moving on out of the 6 heat races. Cade Higday, one of the Knoxville regulars, lining up on the outside of the front row. The Higday Lawn Care car number 24. There's a good look at that front row as they roll around. Pace truck's in, looking for a green flag. 8 laps the distance as they come off of turn number 4. Ray Allen gets on the hammer, and we go to the green flag. Down into turn 1, Ray Allen goes right to the bottom. Higday goes up onto the top side of the racetrack. Battle for that second spot now. Gualda taking a look as they work down the front straightaway. Through the back chute now into turns 3 and 4. Oh, a couple cars getting together. Higday upside down into the outside wall. Tough break for the youngster from Des Moines, Cade Higday, your outside front row starter, but we stay green. Ray Allen Kohanek still leading. Tony Gualda running second. Roger Crockett Thomason in the 4th spot as they start to sort them out around the racetrack now down the front straightaway, single file. The top 3 cars moving on right now. Roger Crockett, tonight's quick qualifier, rides in that 3rd and final transfer position. Down the back chute now, about to have some pressure from Thomason as they race into turn number 4. Gualda going up under the top as we go inside of Thomason's car off of turn number 2. There's a great look down the back chute there as you try to figure out where you're going to go in that 62-foot wide turn 3 and 4. Pick your line, Brian. It's a wide open canvas as they race down into 1.
Looking down on that bottom side as we're going to swap up now, giving chase. It's going to be Tony Gualda going after Ray Allen Kohanek. Bottom side into 1 and 2. He's going to dime in the corner a little bit in turns 3 and 4. Gets a little bit of a run. Looks like he may have a run of Kohanek, but it's going to come up shy, though, as they work into turns 1 and 2.
Ray Allen protects the inside line now, opens the bottom at turn number 2, which is traditionally the fastest part of the Knoxville Raceway. Oh, they nearly get together on the exit of the turn. Ray Allen stays in the top spot. Now here comes a battle for the second position. Roger Crockett taking a look to the inside, falls back in line. He'll follow Gualda to the bottom, now slides up to the top of the racetrack, trying to make a run.
Boy, Crockett's about to have company here. Thomason is there, so that final transfer spot, that is where everybody's watching right now to see, can Crockett hold on to it, or can Thomason get around him as we come to the white flag?
What a great race up front. The top 3 moving on, and this one is undecided as they work down the back straightaway. Now here comes Crockett to the outside, taking a look at Gualda. Gualda goes back to the bottom, slides up across to protect the line, makes Crockett look low, but he can't get it done. Here comes Thomason trying hard to get into the top 3.
Can't get it done. The checkered flag flies on this one. Ray Allen Kohanek, the 5-time ASCS Gulf South Regional Champion, picks up the win. Tony Gualda in second, and Roger Crockett gets the final transfer out of the heat race number 1 into tonight's feature event. Of course, heat race is brought to you by SCE Gaskets. Good way to start things off here, Mr. Bachhoven.
Yeah, great racing here in that first heat race. As the lineup there for heat race number 2, Brian?
Kelby Watt Going to bring him to the drop of the green flag. The driver of Adel, Iowa. Then it's going to be Kevin Fry, the Texas driver, lining up in second. From third in this one out of Waverly, Nebraska, it'll be Stu Snyder lining up fourth. Jesse Dacus, the driver coming to us out of the nation of Canada. Cameron Key, the 21, going for the fifth starting spot. And Dylan Westbrook, the Hills Racing number 47, lining up in sixth. Austin O'Neill out of Kearney, Missouri, lines up in seventh. And Alex Sewell out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, lines up in eighth. Lance Norick out of Cave Creek, Arizona, the Children's Miracle Network number 90, going to line up in ninth. And Dustin Gates out of Houghton, Louisiana. He's going to round out your lineup in this SCE Gaskets Heat Race number 2.
So there's a look at the cars getting the wave there. Over there, one-way radio communications getting ready to pull onto the racetrack.
So Kelby Watt, the Sanitized Solutions Podium Inc. number 1. One of the young drivers racing Knoxville Raceway.
Yeah, Kelby, one of the up-and-coming drivers, definitely developing his skill and becoming one of those guys that you always see in contention on a weekly basis.
Few times raced with the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series during the 2019 season. Getting a look at Kevin Fry, flagman turned iRacer. Also responsible for a lot of the designs you'll see within this game.
You know, one of the cool things for us as announcers, Brian, is we get a look at what these guys' paint schemes are going to look like for this year before we see them at the racetrack.
That's the best part. a little bit of cheating going on here. Waverly, Nebraska driver Stu Snyder, the KRL Motorsports, Housby Power, Mr. Yard and More, 005. Lines up with the inside of your second row to his right. Seen this car for many years around the Arizona desert. Owned by Verville Motorsports. Jesse Dacus out of Edmonton, Alberta, the Verville Motorsports, A1 Instafence, Pat Beck Racing, 01. Cameron Key in Warrensburg, Missouri, the Tony Stewart Racing, Bobby Lawn Care number 211, and that is Tony Stewart, UART, by the way. The 47 to Dylan Westbrook, again out of Scotland, Ontario. The original Traders Energy, Sovereign Fusion, Fisher Cool Chassis number 47. He lines up in the 6th spot as we go to green. Off of turn number 4, the field underway. They'll race into turns 1 and 2. Kelby Watt right now sitting at the front of the field as we look back at Kevin Fry giving chase to the back straightway, side by side. The battle for third starting to shape up now. You'll have Snyder and Dacus. Dacus with the advantage as they work to the front straightway. It will be Watt, though, entering low, then swinging out towards the middle racing groove as they work to the backside of the Knoxville Raceway. Fry sitting in second, Dacus sitting in third. Battle for that 4th spot right now. Stu Snyder, he's going to throw the slide in. Can he make it hold off of the bottom side of turn number 4? He's got it. He will move up into the 4th spot, dropping to 5th is Key. Then it's going to be Westbrook, Sewell, O'Neill, and Norick. Dustin Gates out already in this one. As we'll go back to the front of the field, and a new race leader, Kevin Fry, going to steal the spot away through turns 3 and 4. Now, keep your eye on the battle for second. Here comes Dacus in 01. Dacus trying to get the run. The door going to get slammed on him, though, but they're side by side behind them, Tony. Good battle right now for that final transfer spot.
Well, everybody catching up to the field as they try to make their way in. They're going to go 3 wide down the front straightaway now. If you wondered how serious they take it, here's a good example of it. Oh, boy, Kelby Watt gets turned there. 3 or 4 cars now. One up into the wall, Brian. Boy, what a break there for the top 4 cars.
Oh, man, Dylan Westbrook looked like he had the hole to make it through. Unfortunately, he was the one that got sailed up in the fence. He's rolling, but sans nose wing on that thing. And this game is horribly accurate on the handling, so it's going to be interesting to see just how well he's able to continue rolling as Kevin Fry continues to lead. Key running in second. Alex Sewell now going to move up into the final transfer spot. Lance Norick and Kelby Watt now making up your top 5 as your top 2 drivers. They are on a breakaway at the moment. Fry over Key working through turns 3 and 4.
Well, Lance Norick really getting a break there with that big wreck in turn number 2. He started on the last row of this heat race and now finds himself in that 4th spot.
Final time around the Knoxville Raceway. We'll take a look at your race leaders. They work into turn 3 off of turn number 4. Checkered flag will fly this time, and it will be Kevin Fry who picks up the win. Cameron Keegan across in second. Alex Sewell takes the final transfer spot. Lance Norick and Jesse Dacus ends up running at your top 5. But boy, things getting interesting for that final transfer spot in the melee. Certainly shakes things up.
Wow, that was exciting. pretty cool to see those cars all catching up there to the field and really dicing it out for those transfer positions. All right, heat race number 3 just about to come to the grid. Your lineup looks like this. On the inside of the pole, the third generation Levitt racing out of the Knoxville, Iowa in the car number 40. That's Ryan Levitt. Outside of him, Matthew Johnson in the Chaden Automotive car number 2. Row 2 on the inside, Chad Morgan. We spoke about him quite a bit. He picked up a win in the Knoxville Virtual Series race this year. And outside of him, Anton Hernandez in the 05. Your third row on the inside, fifth starter. That's Clinton Boyles in the 98, and to his outside, Michael Facinto in the 037. Row 4 to the inside of the lineup, you'll find the 86 of Timothy Smith, and alongside of him, the guy that's racing and running this race and doing all kinds of things when he's at the racetrack, that's Matt Ward in the 51. Your final starter, Cohen Shaw in the 888. So if it's not enough pressure, Brian, to be a racer on race night, you got competition director Matt Ward, you got race car driver Matt Ward, you got fight breaker upper Matt Ward. He's got a lot of duties at the racetrack.
Oh, he really does, and he takes it in stride too. I think one of the first races I ever saw Matt as the director of, he had a crew chief going chest to chest with him, and Matt never lost his cool. In fact, it was in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, he is one of the, I've seen him in some pretty heated situations, and he's one of the most patient guys I've seen, and he does a nice job with that. But the real question is, we got you to shave your beard. When do we get Matt Ward to shave his beard?
Cold
it's not
hell.
It hasn't been that cold yet.
No, I didn't mind to freak my kid out. It was worth it.
Oh shoot!
The stranger danger on his face was great.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Problem is now I can see my chins.
Oh yeah, and more chins in a Chinese phone book, right?
Oh, man, more rolls in a bakery.
All right, just about set to go as you get a look from the Hoosier Blimp high atop the turn number 2 at the Knoxville Raceway, turns 1 and 2. Ryan Levitt, the pole setter in the Steve Wares Motorsports entry, to his outside Matthew Johnson, who was one of the co-promoters of the Knoxville Virtual Series events. They'll start outside of row number 1. Chad Morgan picked up that win. He's the crew chief on regular race nights for Brian Brown, but he has been a wheelman here in virtual racing so far this year. You'll see him there in the blue 50 car, taking a look at him right there. That's the shoprico.com entry. All right, just about set to go as they go to the green flag. Ryan Levitt gets a good jump on him down the front straightaway. He'll lead him into turns 1 and 2, but here comes Chad Morgan looking to the inside now as they race for the lead off turn 2.
Oh, Chatty boy looking for room to run on the inside of turns 3 and 4. He's going to dive low, swing wide. It looks like he's got it as they work around to the front straightaway.
Side by side, they race down into turn 1. You see Morgan on the top. Ryan Levitt puts the slider on him. Here comes Morgan, turns the car back to the inside. This one ain't over yet. Chad Morgan back out front.
Morgan goes to the bottom again, takes it across the racetrack, sliding himself. This time, Ryan Levitt not able to turn back underneath him as quick. He's going to trail by about 0.2 of a second as Clinton Boyles right now, the non-wing driver, currently sitting in that third spot.
Clinton Boyles now closing in on Ryan Levitt down the back straightaway. They go nose to tail into turn number 3. Levitt a car width off the cushion now. Boyles 4 wheels in the fluff as they race off at turn number 4. Looking to the outside of Levitt. Here comes Clinton Boyles. Not quite enough. Ryan Levitt back around him on the inside.
He's going to tap Levitt on the shoulder and go, hey, tops up here, bud. As they work to the back straightaway, it will be advantage to Boyles. Levitt now to that final transfer spot. Keep your eye on that race for 4th right now. Timothy Smith, the Missouri driver, and Johnson going at it. Oh, we got angling.
It's those 2 cars, Smith and Johnson, getting upside down just as you spoke about them.
I take no credit for this crash. Smith will continue rolling. Again, no cautions during the heat races. Try to keep things going here as Chad opening up his advantage to nearly 1/2 a second right now over Clinton Boyles.
Well, when he picked up his win here just a couple Thursdays ago, Brian, he won by 1/2 a lap in the shoprico.com car number 50. So there is something definitely figured out about that car as Clinton Boyles trying to close the gap now, doing so just a little bit there in turn number 2. Then it's a ways back to Ryan Levitt in that 3rd and final transfer spot. And Anton Hernandez, how did I do there? He rides in the 4th position.
Not bad, not bad. Hernandez, of course, when he asked if he could race this week, I told him, well, that's not really fair to everybody as he's going to try to fend off the slide there off of turn number 2. He's able to get back underneath, trying to figure out who he's racing. It looks like Michael Facino in the 037. Those two drivers in a good battle, but I told him it's a little unfair. I've seen what you can do with no steering. As he picked up the win at Auto Speedway Park as a checkered flag falls. In this one, Chad Morgan gets the win. Clinton Boyles crossing in second. Ryan Levitt ends up grabbing third. Michael Facino gets the job done over Anton Hernandez, who ends up running at your top 5.
I'm going to keep practicing that. I'm going to get it one of these nights.
SCE Gaskets Heat Race number 4 staging down in the pit lane. Virtual Wally about to bring him out. The Pella Motors iRacing pace truck, as Tony called it earlier. Now, is it virtual Justin Clark or virtual Terry Maddox on the command on this one?
I'll let you decide.
Okay.
I can't get in trouble either way that way.
Carl, the 27, the Altoona, Iowa driver on the pole of this one. Jamie Ball out of Knoxville, Iowa, lining up in second. Colton Hardy, last week's winner at Williams Grove Speedway, the Phoenix, Arizona driver. Lines up in third. Jet Carney out of El Paso, Texas, lining up in fourth. Chase Randall, the Bush's chicken, number 9, lining up in the 5th spot. Johnny Lightning Anderson.
Super fast last night.
Oh, yeah. Picked up the win. Starting 6th in this one, Garrett Williamson, the Tiger Towing 24. Out of Columbia, Missouri, lining up at 7. Garrett Halsey in the 88. And John Carney, the 2nd out of El Paso, Texas. The Mesilla Valley Transportation J2 going to line up in 9th. The drivers will start to make their way out, and looks like Jamie Ball doing a little throwback paint scheme on that whenever he had the Cars theme at the 360 Nationals a couple years ago.
Yeah, I believe his fiance JC drove that car last night in the Powder Puff race, and I asked him if he thought that was a good idea because he didn't have a lot of luck in that car. In fact, he ended up on his lid there in turn number 4 one night, not by his own virtue, but it was a rough ride for him in that car.
In fact, I've got the onboard from that crash. It's made it into our commercials a couple of times. Forrest McCarl, his father Terry McCarl, co-promoting a race tomorrow at Park Jefferson International Speedway up in South Dakota. Limit 32 car field, and it's strictly pay-per-view.
We'll be running IMC modifieds on the card as well.
Did you see on there that Kenny Wallace and Kenny Schrader are on the modified entry list?
Yeah, they are. They're actually Kenny Wallace put out a video this week talking about he's actually riding with Schrader up to the track, then driving someone else's car when he gets there.
Wow. We wish Terry and everybody great luck and hope everybody stays good and healthy through all that. As the Pella Motors virtual pace truck down into the infield, we go to green off of turn number 4. Carson McCarl with the jump and out to the race lead.
2 and 3 wide there, back in the pack, Brian, as they work off of turn number 2. Everybody vying to get into that top 3 spot.
Boy, Chase Randall picked up the... Oh, he gets tagged on the back bumper. And Jamie Ball, that car seemed being mean to him again.
In turn 4.
He's going to keep it rolling as we stay green. It's McCarl, Hardy, and now Carney. He's going to be the benefactor on that one. Started last, and that's going to allow him to run up in the final transfer spot. And he has been turning a lot of laps. Jet Carney, driver of El Paso, Texas, currently sitting in that 3rd spot, but the battle is going to be for the lead. Colton Hardy in the 41, last week's winner of Williams Grove Speedway. He's going to go side by side with Carson McCarl.
Puts the slider on Carson as they race into turn 4. Carson looks back to the inside, finds a little moisture, middle of the raceway. They run side by side down into turn 1. Brian, you got to really hit your line going into turn 1 because the middle of that racetrack is really slick. So there's a fine line on the bottom and a fine line to get to the cushion.
You know, not only do we see that here in iRacing, it's that way in the real where you really, like you said, you have to hit that bottom so right and either be able to stick to that bottom or know where to kind of let the car drift up and keep your momentum to hold on to your speed. As we get a look at the backside of the 41, still it is McCarl giving chase, and he's going to go ahead and throw that slide in turns 3 and 4. Doesn't have enough momentum to get it done, though.
Colton Hardy stays up on the top of the racetrack there in 4, then goes back to the bottom. He hits the slick, and that's what sends him up to the cushion. He comes in hard, gets in through the slick, finds the middle of the track, finds that cushion on exit. But boy, Colton Hardy now starting to find some distance between he and Carson, who runs in that 2nd spot. But don't look now, because here comes Johnny Lightning Anderson from the back of the pack up into the 3rd spot.
I was about to say, getting around Jet Carney and starting to distance him, now running down Carson McCarl as they're working at turns 3 and 4. Both drivers into the outside, and Anderson pitching right in the middle and turning it down, and we see a lot of drivers use that very move on a weekly basis at the Knoxville Raceway, where they're able to go in and re-pitch that car and turn down and grab the moisture off the exit of the turn.
Go on board with Johnny Anderson in that third spot. You know, Brian, last night in the feature, by race time, the track was all slick. It was gut slick, as we like to call it, and Anderson has a setup for that slick racetrack, puts it to his advantage right there, takes that second spot back, but Carson gets back around him on the inside as
checkered flag
flies.
Gets the win. Carson McCarl does hold on for that second spot, and it is Anderson who ends up with the final transfer spot. Good battle for second there, and admittedly kind of lost track of the laps kind of watching that.
I was going to say, I get so wrapped up in this racing because it's so good that I lose track of how many laps we've run. But getting ready to go with heat race number 5, starting on the pole, the FVP Casey's General Stores, car number 21. That's Blackjack Brian Brown. To his outside from Snohomish, Washington. In the car number 43, Seth Bergman. Row 2 on the inside, third starting spot in the 79. You'll find Billy Rowley, and alongside of Billy, now living in North Carolina, driving the Swindell Speed Labs, car number 39, the Bulldog, Kevin Swindell. Your third row fifth starter is Tanner Holmes in the car number 18, and alongside of him you'll find Matthew Howard in the 008. Your fourth row, Justin Cox from the state of California, driving the car number 7, and alongside of him, Devin Borden in the 80 car. And your final starter, Dalton Dietrich in the car number 94 from Pennsylvania.
Boy, Kevin Swindell actually running double duty right now. He's committed to running a rally event, and the time's kind of conflicted. So he's jumping from one server to another to try to make sure he can compete in both. Now, last week, he completely missed qualifying this heat race, so he had to go from the D all the way up to a top 10 finish in the A. So ultimately, he made a good night of it. As we get a look at Brian Brown in the KC's FVP, impact signs on. He's a wraps number 21. Seth Bergman, normally number 23, rocking the 43 here on iRacing.
Yeah, he ran that last night, same paint scheme and everything last night. I got to tell you, I love those cars with the no paint wings.
It gives you that throwback feeling, that kind of 80s, 70s look.
Yeah, for sure, I love it.
Back before weight rules and cars would mean nothing.
All right, just about ready to go as you ride on board with Seth Bergman. There's a look from the suspension cam. Off turn 4, the green flag waves. Brown gets a good run off the bottom of the racetrack. Now will lead the field down into turn 1. He goes right to the bottom of the racetrack. Bergman slipping back to the 4th spot. A couple cars getting together there off of turn number 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway. Rowley, Bergman, Holmes, Howard, your top 5.
Brown going to bring him off the high side of the speedway. The battle for that transfer spot right now. Tanner Holmes and Seth Bergman. They will rock it side by side. Now 3 wide for the second spot. Billy Rowley on the outside. Holmes and Bergman. It's Rowley who holds the position in 79 and going after Brown.
Brown is under fire now as he leads the way off of turn 4. Here comes Rowley looking to the inside, knocking on the door, goes to the top. Brown right through the slick, finds the top side of the racetrack, trying to carry that momentum through the turn, but Rowley is knocking on the door, trying to wear the back bumper out on that car.
Billy Rowley, one of the few drivers in the lineup that is exclusively an iRacer, and certainly showing the experience here as he's going to run to the inside of Brian Brown into turns 1 and 2. Slide job for the race lead. Brown tries to turn it underneath him. Does he have enough as they hit the back straightaway?
Great move by Rowley as they work down the back chute into turn 3 as you're looking back from Rowley, now looking back from Brian Brown's car. Good racing as Brown under pressure now from Holmes in that second spot. Battle for second as they race into the turn.
Brown on that bottom side of the speedway, able to get back around Billy Rowley. Boy, those two drivers really putting on quite the show here. Tanner Holmes hoping one of them makes a mistake and maybe he can sneak by and get the race win in this one, but right now sits in the final transfer spot. Bergman sitting in 4th with Howard running at your top 5.
Seth Bergman starting to run out of time as he's 1 spot out of a transfer there in that 4th spot as the top 3 cars now begin to pull away from the field. Brian Brown continuing to lead Rowley and Holmes as Holmes goes to the top of the track. Rowley sliding up there through the slick as we talked about that earlier. Turns the car to the left, looks to the inside. Battle for second, has a run. Here comes Rowley back around the inside. Looking at Brown. Oh, and he gets together. Taps Brown's front end. Brown hanging on to 3rd. Now falls to 4th down the front chute.
White flag displayed, and it is anybody's race to get into the A main. Brown and the 18 of Holmes came together. Brown trying to go after it. Contact, and he's into the wall now. Him and Howard
crash into the wall.
They come together, and Billy Rowley's going to pick up the win. Seth Bergman's going to cross in second, and Tanner Holmes ends up running at your podium. Justin Cox and Devin Borden unofficially running at your top 5 in this one, but things getting interesting on the last lap.
Wow. Tough break, and you never know. These things aren't over till they're over, and there's a prime example. Just when you think you've got this one in the bag, things go awry quite quickly here in iRacing.
It may be virtual, but they're racing like they're going for the 150,000 payday.
We'd be calling for security to Rowley's pit area, please. Security.
Security to the tuna can.
Heat race is going well here, Brian. Here's the next one.
Do believe working out of the heat races as less than 60 drivers checking in. So it looks like we're going to rock into the D main, I do believe.
C main, I believe, right?
C feature, excuse me. So again, inviting 60, but obviously, and getting a couple of texts where drivers are having trouble because they have weather around them and they're not able to jump on here. So we'll go into nice C feature. Kevin Swindell on the pole of this one. TJ Hartman lining up to his outside. Austin O'Neill going to line up in third with Cohen Shaw to the outside of that second row. Chase Randall, the driver to Waco, Texas, lining up in fifth, and Dalton Dietrich going to line up in sixth. Chance Crum from seventh, and Dylan Westbrook in eighth. Timothy Smith in ninth. John Carney the second and 10th. Matthew Howard and JJ Yaley still trying to shed that rookie flag, lining up in the 12th spot. Stu Snyder going to line up in 13th with Matthew Johnson lining up in 14th. 15th will find Jamie Ball. 16th will be Brian Brown, Cade Higday, and Dustin Gates slated to round out your lineup in this C feature event. 12 times around, 4 drivers will advance on to the tail of your B feature event C mains.
Track really starting to change, Brian, as you start to see some dust coming up off the racetrack there.
Going to get interesting as we go throughout the night and see how it goes into the feature event. And like you said, when it gets just gut slick, and see who is able to drive with that egg under their foot and really navigate the turns here in Knoxville.
How about that throwback Selma shell paint scheme there? That's pretty cool looking.
There's been a couple on here that have really, they're sharp. They're great looking. And then I see like Chase Randall, and seeing that car in the reel just a few weeks ago, and identical.
These onboard cameras are great. There's a look back there from the front row, looking back on the field.
Right along with Kevin Swindell, looking back at Austin O'Neill right now. As we're getting ready to go to green, they're going to pick up the pace off of turn number 4, and we're underway in tonight's C feature event, brought to you by My Race Pass.
2 and 3 wide, back in the pack. Couple cars getting together, but Kevin Swindell leads off the turn as they race down the back straightaway. Back in the pack, things are getting hairy, but back up front, here comes Cohen Shaw in that third spot, looking around the inside, trying to make the move toward the front.
Battle right there between Chase Randall, Cohen Shaw, Dylan Westbrook. That's going to be 4th, 5th, and 6th right now. It's going to be Randall with the advantage in 3rd, Dylan Westbrook in 4th now. Cohen Shaw going to get around him as they'll take it side by side into turns 3 and 4. Westbrook goes up and slaps the outside wall. He's going to lose several positions now as they work to the front straightaway. Westbrook shuffled all the way back to the 9th position.
Stu Snyder getting collected there as well. He gets the car turned around, back in the pack, but back up front. Good battle. Again, as Brian mentioned earlier, only the top 4 cars moving on as they battle for position off of turn 4.
Kevin Swindell leading this one by about 0.4 of a second. Austin O'Neill still running in that second spot. Randall right now running in 3rd. Then it's going to be Shaw in the final transfer spot, but he and Crum, they're dicing it up for that position now. And here comes Brian Brown as well in 21.
Brian Brown up into that 4th spot, now falls back to 5th as they work off of turn 4. 1 spot out of a transfer. Keep your eye on him. He goes back to the bottom of the racetrack. He and Crum swapping that transfer spot. This could get good, Brian. 4 cars nose to tail down the back chute.
Boy, Brown going to stick it right to the back bumper of the car directly in front of him here. That is Chance Crum. And one thing about iRacing, the one aspect you don't have the dirty air, so you're able to really run it in on their back bumper like that, as Brown goes for the slide. He's got it. He's going to move up into the final transfer spot as it looked like Crum went up and tagged the wall, and you saw his car blip off the screen there for a second. That's a connection issue on his side of the internet, so that may have played into that little bobble there.
Kevin Swindell continuing to lead from the drop of the green. He's out front, taking a look as they work down the back straightaway. Austin O'Neill, Randall in the 3rd spot, Smith in that 4th and final transfer position. Brown has dropped back to the 12th spot now. Brian, we must have missed something there as the nose wing clean off the car number 21.
Yeah, I'll say the wing absent from the front of the KC General Store FVP number 21, so not sure what happened with Brown there, but Kevin Swindell at one point had opened up to about a half a second advantage, and Austin O'Neill brought it back down to about 210. Says, looks like Kevin went in there, maybe missed the top on entry of one just a little bit, brought it back down away from the wall. Austin O'Neill stalking in that second spot, Chase Randall, and now Timothy Smith, the driver out of Rocheport, Missouri. He's going to sit in the final transfer spot as we go on board with the Tiger Towing, Sorrells Auto and Truck Parts number 86.
Cool look up on the top. You see that cushion nearly goes away there in the middle of 1 and 2. Down the back chute now, a narrow line entering just above the slick. It gets wide, then it gets narrow as they exit the turn.
Boy, it's interesting. Even in the detail of the track, that little kick in the wall coming off of turn number 2, it's even there. Even in the game, so drivers are having to be really aware of that when they come around to the back straightaway to make sure they don't get that right rear up there and tag that. As we have less than 2 laps to go, white flag should be out this time by.
Final lap for the Bulldog. Kevin Swindell, Austin O'Neill, and Randall, followed by Smith in the top 4. Checkered flag will wave as Kevin goes to the top of turns 3 and 4, looking for the checkers as they work off the turn. He gets up over the cushion, but he'll hang on to her, and he'll get the C-Main win. He will transfer on to the back of tonight's B. Austin O'Neill, Randall, and Smith, the 4 transfer cars.
Colin Shaw, 1 spot shy in that 5th position. Dietrich, Crum, Ball, Brown, and Snyder ends up running at your top 10 in your My Race Pass C feature event. Coming up, Brown & Miller Racing Solutions B Main. For every application of racing from hobby stocks to NASCAR to F1 and beyond, Brown & Miller Racing Solutions has a host solution for your racing machine.
Yeah, you talked about our friends at My Race Pass. Make sure you get the app. Race fans, hashtag get the app. You can follow along with racing action when your favorite race car drivers are racing around the country. Just pull them up on your phone and see how they're doing. So make sure you download that to your smartphone.
While you're downloading those apps, Knoxville Raceway, of course, with their own app.
Yeah, make sure you get the Knoxville Raceway app. You can keep up with, especially now, what's happening with the schedule and the latest action. You can get tickets online, all kinds of cool stuff. Your B Main getting ready to go is the lineup on the screen for you. Scott Thomason sits on the pole. To his outside, Lance Norick. Row number 2, Anton Hernandez on the inside of the second row. Jet Carney will line up to his outside. Your 5th starter is Justin Cox alongside of Danny Sams at 3rd. He'll start in the 6th position. Jesse Dacus and Matt Ward line up on the 4th row. Row number 5 is Garrett Williamson and Devin Borden. Row 6 finds Cale Connolly and Kelby Watt. Row number 7, Michael Facinto and Garrett Halsey. Kevin Swindell, your transfer cars. He leads that 4-car pair. Austin O'Neill, Chase Randall, and Timothy Smith will be your final starter here in tonight's B Main. If only race nights went off this fast, Brian.
Oh, man, wouldn't it be nice? Problem is, one person commented on the stream, the only thing we're missing is Dollar Bush. We wouldn't have enough time to sell enough.
That's right. That's right. We'd have to pull a trick like the old days at the Devil's Bowl when the power would go out just a little bit while you sold some concessions.
That's not the old days. That happened last
year. Oh, shoot.
You could just sell one more burrito. Oh, we miss Lanny.
For sure. For sure.
You can look at Kevin Swindell and the way he's able to jump back and forth between these 2 events. We talked about he's doing a rally race and this. He has 2 profiles now. Okay. So he's got his main, and then he's actually got his Kevin Swindell 2, and that's what he's jumped on to be able to go back and forth, so he's not having to log out, re-log in, and kind of mess him up.
I gotcha. All right. Your B Main going to the green flag down into turn number 1. Thomason leads the way. Justin Cox, Anton Hernandez now up into the 2nd spot. Cox racing in that 3rd position. Battle for 4th. Jet Carney puts his name in the mix as they work into turn number 3. Cars getting all scattered across the racetrack, Brian.
Boy, look at Chase Randall throwing a big slide job there through turns 3 and 4. Brings it back to the high side. Oh, look, Justin Cox had to take some evasive action. He turned it down the racetrack and avoids catastrophes. We've got one on his side. Kelby Watt, he's ripping some donuts over in turn 4. The car's going to get kicked off the racetrack, and we're going to stay green. Battle for the race lead. brewing here. Slide job cometh. Anton Hernandez and Scott Thomason going at it.
Scott Thomason goes back to the inside. He'll slide up across the racetrack. Can't make the move, though. Hernandez will lead down the back straightaway. Scott Thomason, Justin Cox, Kevin Swindell up into the fourth and final transfer spot. He is trying to make something happen here tonight to work through the soup.
Well, Kevin Swindell, no stranger to virtual racing here at the Knoxville Raceway, won one of the World of Outlaws Invitational races here in Knoxville. I think he went back-to-back with them as well. And right now, trying to get up and get some insurance right now as he rides in that fourth position, looking for third, runs right to the middle groove off of turn number 4, has a run to the front straightaway, and he will have the advantage all the way up 12 positions in this run to that third spot. Good run for the Bulldog.
Jet Carney and Randall putting on a good battle there for the 5th spot. Those two cars definitely contenders in tonight's action. They're both outside of the transfer position. They'll go side by each down into turn 1, battling for position. They want to get up into the top 4 spots.
Chase Randall, the 15-year-old full-time rookie contender with the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series in the 2020 season. Coming out of the micro ranks of the Lucas Oil National Open Wheel 600 Series, presented by High Plains Building Division. He will battle with the 6 of Jet Carney, now third car into that mix as well. That is going to be Danny Sams III, another 2020 rookie with the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series, as they go 3 wide into turns 3 and 4.
Well, keep your eye on Randall now as he looks to the inside. He'll get that 4th and final transfer position. He'll bring Jet Carney with him in the 5th spot. Thomason slips back to 6th. The top 4 cars moving on, and that's where you want to be as Chase Randall holds that 4th and final transfer position down into turn number 3.
It'll be Anton Hernandez still at the front of the field. He's gapped into about a half a second now, all the way down to 0.2 of a second. Trying to get a look at the reader as Justin Cox goes right by him. A bobble on the part of Hernandez. And Justin Cox going to race by Hernandez, able to turn back underneath him, though, as they work up at turn number 2. Justin Cox coming back after him, though, as they work off into turns 3 and 4.
Justin Cox has raced the last 3 Thursday nights in the Knoxville Virtual Series, so he's got a lot of laps here in virtual racing at Knoxville. Now in the race lead as they work down the back straightaway. Hernandez looking to the inside, knocking on the door. No! Cox shuts the door. Oh, they get together in turn 4. Cox hangs on to it. Hernandez. Here comes Kevin Swindell. He'll move up into the 2nd spot, looking for the lead.
Kevin Swindell down to the bottom side of turns 1 and 2. Does he have enough as they work down to the back straightaway? Yes, he does. Justin Cox falls to 2nd. Kevin Swindell up to the race lead.
Looking here for the checkers coming up shortly as they close this one out. Battle for the lead. Kevin Swindell, Justin Cox, and Hernandez. White flag flies. 1 to go.
Final time, and apologies, we said top 4. It's top 6 moving out of the B main. So Kevin Swindell has it. Justin Cox trying to take away the race lead. You've got Anton Hernandez there making it a 3-car fight as they work into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. To the front straightaway, Cox with the run, but he'll be denied. Kevin Swindell going to grab the win. Justin Cox in 2nd, Anton Hernandez in 3rd, Chase Randall, Jet Carney, and Scott Thomason ends up with the final transfer spot in this one. Williamson, Sams, O'Neill, and Halsey round out your top 10. What a race.
I'm telling you, Brian, this virtual racing is exciting, and these guys are getting up on the wheel here for sure.
It may be virtual, but like I said, we might as well be calling it for the 150,000 win. The way these guys get into it. And Swindell, 2 weeks in a row, having to fight his way up into the A main event. And right now, they're going to come out. They're going to have about a 5-minute warm-up session here. Do have to do a little bit of housekeeping, a couple of commercials of the people that support the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series. We'll be back in just a moment.
One of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas fuel treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system, pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas fuel treatment. It works. There is less than 1/100th of an inch of motor oil protecting your car's engine. Friction and heat causes engine oil to experience thermal breakdown, weakening its ability to protect the engine and its parts. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer is specially formulated to resist thermal breakdown, protect vital engine parts, and extend the life of your engine. It also stops smoking, knocking, and oil consumption in worn engines. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. Keep that engine alive. Next to your vehicle's engine, your transmission is the most important component of your car. If it's not properly maintained, your car may not shift properly. By adding Lucas Transmission Fix to your transmission, it cleans and lubricates sticking valves for proper shifting, renews worn bands to stop slipping, stops seal leaks, will not void new car warranties, contains no harmful solvents. Lucas Transmission Fix. It works.
Presented live tonight on RacingBoys.com. Of course, Racing Boys, the official live online broadcast provider of the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series. Scott and Kirk sitting back in the studio right now.
In beautiful downtown Kansas City.
That's right. First, want to thank them for doing these broadcasts free of charge like this, and with everything going on, just I said it last week, just trying to scratch that itch, and boy, the racing tonight has certainly got that done.
Yeah, and the Racing Boys put on a lot of different broadcasting, like on the in the mornings, on the weekends. You can watch the guys online, and so check them out online. Go to RacingBoys.com to find out all about all of their programming and all the different shows, Track Talk, and all those kind of shows that you can watch during the week.
WHB Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, if you're within the listening area. Of course, for more information on the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series, you can find us online at ASCSRacing.com, as well as on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Of course, we've posted more updates on our schedule today. I-96 Speedway up in Michigan, they have rescheduled into the month of August now. And talking with a couple of more tracks that are set to race here in the month of May, and figuring out what's going on with their states and whether or not they'll be able to compete. We'll have some more updates on that Monday of next week.
For those of you in Central Iowa, the good news is, the governor, she is starting to approve some outdoor activities. Like they open, the farmers markets in Central Iowa are a big deal, right? And so today it was announced that they can kick off the farmers markets coming up here in the next few weeks, and so that will definitely help start getting things back to normal here for outside activities.
How's it been in the Knoxville Pella area during all this?
It's been interesting. We have a big festival here in Pella, Tulip Time, and it'll bring 100,000 people to the area over 3 days, and we've canceled that. But there has still been a lot of outdoor activity, a lot of people walking and running. I live near a pretty major bike trail, and the amount of people that I see out biking and walking has been unbelievable, way more than normal seasons. But, our downtown, which is normally bustling, has been really quiet. So the retailers are getting creative with drive-up service and curbside pickup and all that kind of stuff. So everybody's just trying to figure out how to coexist in this new time and keep their businesses going some way, somehow.
And it's amazing here in Tulsa over the last couple of weeks. It's, you walk into Lowe's or Walmart or any of those, and they're just packed with people. But, most everybody's, they're wearing a face mask or doing something to try to protect themselves and the people around them. So just a very odd time to be around, as that'll wrap up practice. Tony Gawalda turned the fastest time at a 16.090 second lap. And things are going to get interesting here. 35 trips around the Knoxville Raceway in your SawBlade.com feature event. Of course, SawBlade.com, the official saw blade of the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series. And on the pole, this one, Clinton Boyles, a Missouri driver, going to bring it to the drop of the green flag. Cameron Keys set to line up on the outside of your front row.
Tony Gawalda lines up on the inside of row number 2, and to his outside from the state of Ohio, Billy Rowley in the car number 79.
Lining up 5th, last week's winner at the Williams Grove Speedway, Colton Hardy out of Phoenix, Arizona. And lining up 6th in this one at a Grain Valley, Missouri, the ShopRico.com 50 of Chad Morgan.
Your 4th row on the inside, Kevin Fry from Texas in the 212, and alongside of him, Ray Allen Kohanek in the 021.
Carson McCarl out of Altoona, Iowa, scheduled to line up in the 9th position in the car number 27, and Seth Bergman out of Snohomish, Washington, the car number 43. He's going to line up in the outside of your 5th row.
From the Great Northwest, Roger Crockett in the 11 car, and alongside of Roger in the car number 8, it's Alex Sewell.
Getting a look at the rest of the rundown here. Ryan Levitt, the Knoxville, Iowa driver, in 40. He's going to line up in 13th, and Johnny Lightning Anderson He's going to line up 14th in the car number 32.
Tanner Holmes will line up in the car number 18 in the 15th starting spot, and starting 16th tonight, he's been the man on the move in the car number 39. That's the Swindell Speed Labs entry, the Bulldog, Kevin Swindell.
Justin Cox out of Clarksburg, California, the 7 machine, going to line up in 17th and lining up in 18th in this one. The driver coming to us out of the state of Texas, that is Anton Hernandez out of Arlington.
Chase Randall, the young star in the car number 9, lines up 19th, and to his outside, Jet Carney in the car number 06. He will line up 20th.
Scott Thomason, the Tulsa driver, lining up 21st, and lining up 22nd, it will be Garrett Williamson, driver out of Columbia, Missouri, in the Midmo equipment number 024.
Danny Sams lines up on the inside of the final row in the car number 24, and your final starter in the 011, the car number 24 of Austin O'Neill.
Good lineup for tonight's SawBlade.com feature event with the virtual Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series presented by the MAVTV Motorsports Network. Round 2 in our Lucas Oil ASCS eSports Series.
Who's your pick?
Oof. Tough. I don't know, Colton Hardy trying to make it two races in a row as we're just about ready to go to green. Virtual Wally going to take it down into the infield. Here we go. 35 trips around. We're green at the Knoxville Raceway.
Green flag waves. Clinton Boyles leads him down into the turn as they race into turn number 2. 3 wide there for the 4th spot off of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway. Great battle for that 3rd position.
Down on the bottom side of the speedway trying to make something happen. That 99, he's going to slip the tires a little bit, and they're going to race right by him as it'll be Billy Rowley up into 3rd now. Chad Morgan in 4th. Now he's going to take the 3rd spot away. He and Rowley with a good battle through turns 1 and 2.
Still 3 wide racing in the early part of this one. Chad Morgan down on the inside of the racetrack holds the car mid-pack in the ShopRico.com car number 50. Down the back straightaway, Chad Morgan battling with Gowalda, Kohanek, and Bergman starting to march his way up. Johnny Anderson and Kevin Fry round out the top 10.
Right now, Clinton Boyles with about a 0.4 of a second advantage, just shy of a half a second right now as he makes his way off of the high side of turn number 4, brings it down to the bottom of the racetrack, making that car as wide as possible right now. Cameron Key still running that 2nd spot. Billy Rowley, the iRacer, running at 3rd. Colton Hardy running at 4th. Chad Morgan, Tony Gowalda, Seth Bergman, Anderson, Kohanek, and Sewell right now running at your top 10. And boy, keep your eye on that. Oh, they tag bumpers. Colton Hardy's upside down at 41.
Oh, 4 cars getting together. Seth Bergman included in that miss. Oh boy, and somebody getting smoked there as they came around turn number 4. Oh, tough break for those guys, all in contention for a win. Clinton Boyles, though, clean and green as they raced out front. Keys, Morgan now up into the 3rd spot. Alex Sewell running for Johnny Anderson now creeping his way up into the 5th spot. Yellow.
So caution light's going to come on the replay here. And it was a melee there. Colton Hardy, his chances of going back-to-back go up in smoke. McCarl involved in that as well. Kohanek was also involved. We'll get another look at it here.
And Johnny Anderson has major damage to that top wing, though. He kept going, and he was running there in the 4th spot when the yellow came out, so we'll see how that affects his handling here once we go back to green, because it will definitely affect it even here in iRacing.
I do believe Hardy and Rowley were the 2 drivers that came together there as we go on board with the 41. And wow, as violent and virtual as it is in real life. A lot less expensive, though.
And a lot safer.
Yes.
So we're under caution here at the virtual Knoxville Raceway. Clinton Boyles, your race leader from the drop of the green. Keys, Chad Morgan there in the 3rd spot. Alex Sewell, Johnny Anderson. Johnny Anderson, as I mentioned, Brian, he lines up in the 5th spot there. He was part of that crash, though he kept going, and then as he went by there, it looked like he had some top wing damage, but so far, it looks like, from what I can see here on the view monitor, it looks okay. So we'll see how he does here on the restart in that 5th spot.
See if maybe we can get a look back at him here and try to get a better look at that car. As Clinton Boyles, the non-wing driver, turned wing racer here on iRacing, did make a few laps in wing competition last year at the Lucas Oil Speedway during the Hockin McMillan Memorial. He was driving the Steve Hahn back number 29. He's at the front of the field. Cameron Key, Chad Morgan, Sewell Anderson, Kevin Fry lining up at 6, Anton Hernandez in 7, Chase Randall and 8, Justin Cox and Ryan Levitt running at your top 10. Ray Allen Kulhanek, Danny Sams III, Austin O'Neill, Jet Carney, and Scott Thomas in your top 15 as we go back to green.
Green flag waving. Clinton Boyles wasting no time, beginning to pull away from Cameron Key there in that second spot. Chad Morgan taking a look in the third position. Alex Sewell still running fourth, but here comes Morgan down to the inside, looking for second in turn 4. Morgan with a run. Key up on the top. Morgan takes it, but here comes Key back around the outside.
Boy, Chad really tiptoeing that bottom side through turns 3 and 4, running the Lasowski line in 3 and 4. He runs the Brown line in 1 and 2, enters low, then lets the car swing out and keep his momentum up as he found the outside line exiting the second turn. This time going to protect the cushion through turns 3 and 4 as we go on board with the ShopRico.com number 50, looking back at Cameron Key right now. And again, runs it down to the bottom of 1, and you see him just bring it up across the racetrack and just keep the car loaded and keep his speed up to the back straightaway.
Cameron Key there follows him in on the bottom. Johnny Anderson there right behind him now, closing in on Key. That'll be the battle for the third spot. This could be good. Here comes Anderson right through the slick, Brian. He enters in the middle of the corner, finds the cushion, and tries to kind of turn the car off the high side of the racetrack.
Boy, how many times have we seen Anderson run this exact line around the Knoxville Raceway and really make it work? That time, though, not able to get the run on Key as he continues to ride in the 4th spot, but has a big run to the front straightaway. He's going to dive to the bottom and slide in through turns 1 and 2. Does he have enough? He's got it as they make their way to the back straightaway.
And your race is for the lead as they go down into turns 3 and 4. Morgan had a run on Clinton Boyles down the back straightaway. Boyles went to the bottom to block. Here comes Boyles down to the bottom side of turn 1. Chad Morgan follows him, and they both slide to the high side of the racetrack. Well, 2 laps ago, Morgan was right alongside of Clinton Boyles, so now Boyles is a little wiser to the situation. Chad Morgan goes to the top of the racetrack now, mounting a charge now, down the front chute now, racing for the lead side by side into turn 1.
It is by hundredths and now a tenth of a second as they swap lines going through turns 1 and 2 to the back straightaway. Boyles from top to bottom, bottom to top. Now Chad Morgan back down to the bottom as they work into turns 3 and 4. Swings it out a little bit, slips that right rear. Is going to give the advantage back to Clinton Boyles as he trails by just under a tenth of a second into turns 1 and 2. Slide job for the race lead. Here comes Chad Morgan.
Chad Morgan had it, but Clinton Boyles says no. He goes back around the inside, slides back to the top at turn number 4. Chad Morgan not done yet on the bottom. He'll look low again as they work down the front straightaway. Morgan follows him in on the bottom. Clinton Boyles has the lead. This time Morgan stays on the bottom, keeps the wheels in the sticky stuff there on the bottom of turn number 2. Clinton Boyles now puts 5 car lengths on him, and Johnny Anderson now, the man on the move. He's closing in on Chad Morgan.
Boy, those two started battling, and that allowed Anderson to really start to close in. Key riding that 4th spot, Alex Sewell in 5th. Hernandez running in 6th. You got Fry, Cox, Randall, and O'Neill right now running at your top 10. Good racing all the way through the field in this one. As we look at this, you've got Sewell running right through the middle of the racetrack as he gives chase to Cameron Key to the front straightaway.
Good racing up front as we go on board. There's a suspension cam. There's a look how close they get to those cars, one another when they're racing. It gets pretty close, pretty hairy there a few times.
Riding along with Anton Hernandez that time, going after Kevin Fry and Alex Sewell. Good 4-car battle now as they work into turns 1 and 2. Driver coming into the frame there towards the end of that one was Justin Cox in the 7 machine. The Bearco Redwood entry going to try the bottom side, entering turns 3 and 4. The door going to get slammed shut on him, though, as the battle for the lead once again. Chad Morgan had it. Boyles going to take it back from him.
Morgan with the advantage now, slides up across the nose. Boyles turns that car back. Boy, Brian, when Clinton Boyles turns that car, he doesn't lose an inch. He makes a big run down the back chute to get the lead back. Morgan goes back to the bottom. And oh boy, Clinton Boyles, I thought we lost him there for a minute.
Yeah, a little bit of a connection issue, but it hasn't slowed him down. He's going to turn it back down off of turn number 2. Like you said, he doesn't lose an inch as he drives right back by Chad Morgan. Both drivers now work the bottom. Morgan's going to get that right front up on that inside berm, and he's going to have the advantage this time as they work into turns 1 and 2.
Now we're on board with Clinton Boyles, who's up on the top of the racetrack now, trying to get that lead back as there's Chad Morgan getting back by him on the inside by about half a car length. Clinton Boyles stays up on the top of the racetrack. If you ever wondered what it looked like to lead the race at Knoxville without ever buying one of those cars, Brian, this is about as close as you're going to get.
Boy, the way they're racing, you're going to have to adjust your blood pressure medication because they are getting after it here. Switching lines now right to the back bumper. Chad Morgan goes Clinton Boyles, takes it back to the outside, entering turn 3, cuts it down the racetrack up at turn number 4, trying to grab that strip of moisture. He's still within a couple of car lengths as they work into turns 1 and 2, and here comes Anderson once again.
10 laps to go in this one. as they work down the back straightaway. Chad Morgan continuing to lead by 2 car lengths. Here comes Johnny Anderson up on the high side of the racetrack. He'll put the whip to her off at turn number 4, trying to close in on your leaders who have now caught lap traffic.
Well, lap traffic could be the tiller of tales here. They are running the high side of the speedway right now. Chad Morgan with a clear racetrack through turns 1 and 2. We'll see if that's the same through turns 3 and 4. No, they're going to break rank to the bottom and top, and now Morgan, he's going to have that road clear as we go on board, as he will try to tiptoe his way through the back markers right now. Right around the bottom side of turns 1 and 2. He doesn't slip one little bit off of that berm.
Boy, you were reading my mind, Brian. I was just thinking that is a good example of how smooth that car is. Front end not darting around, the nose not moving, just sticks it right on the bottom of the racetrack on both ends of the Knoxville Raceway, and he's able to hang on to that top spot.
A little bit of a battle for second. We saw them switch positions there up on the ticker, Boyles and Anderson. It's going to be Boyles with the advantage right now. Anderson had it for just a moment, but traffic being used as a pick here, as Morgan now opens it up to just over 0.4 of a second here as we work into the closing laps, coming up on 5 to go for the Green Valley, Missouri driver.
Johnny Anderson in that 3rd spot has sized up Clinton Boyles a couple times. Clinton gets the car turned a little sideways there, lights the hides as they work off the turn. Oh, Johnny Anderson off the throttle. Anderson in that 3rd spot, slowing. My guess is he ran her out of fuel.
Boy, that is one thing here. We're going 35 laps, and we've seen it done in the real before, but that fuel load, ever important here as we work into the closing laps. We'll see who's able to make the distance as Morgan continues to work around slower traffic, working the bottom side. Clinton Boyles turns it down the racetrack again, like he just picked up more speed as they work into turns 3 and 4. He's going to split hairs into turn 3, goes to the outside line. Does he have enough of a run on Morgan to take it back?
Morgan hanging out of that top spot as Boyles goes back to the high side of the racetrack here as we begin to put the ribbons on this one. When I saw Anderson go slow, Brian, I thought cue the soundbite from Brad Doty where he says, put the big tanks on them, boys.
Boy, definitely, as that time it looked like Boyles, he just about got up and hit the ball hard there in the middle of turns 3 and 4, but also Morgan with a little bit of a bobble, and both drivers go down to the bottom of turns 1 and 2 to protect that line. They're separated by just over 0.2 of a second. Morgan, though, with a good run to the back straightaway that time. 2 to go this time.
Who's it gonna be in this one as they work in traffic down the front straightaway? Chad Morgan follows the lap car. Carson McCarl into turns 1 and 2. Here comes Boyles up on the high side. Oh boy, Morgan held up by the lap car. McCarl down the back straightaway. Here comes Clinton Boyles. White flag will fly this time by.
Clinton Boyles off of the top and down to the bottom again. It looked like he just, oh, he did tag McCarl. As Boyles now slowing off of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. Chad Morgan
Oh, Clinton Boyles.
Track to run as they work into turn 3, this time out of turn number 4. Tony, bring us home.
Off of turn 4, he'll pick up his second iRacing win at the Knoxville Raceway. Chad Morgan is your winner here tonight.
Cameron Key crossing in second. Justin Cox with a late race run to third. Chase Randall in fourth. Austin O'Neill in fifth. Kevin Fry in sixth. Ryan Levitt in seventh. Anton Hernandez, Clinton Boyles, and Seth Bergman ends up rounding out your field in 10th. But what a run tonight for the crew chief turned expert iRacer, the driver to Green Valley, Missouri, in the ShopRico.com 50. Give him a hand, Chad Morgan.
Boy, he's got that car figured out pretty good.
Man.
Tough break for Clinton Boyles. My guess, running that car out of fuel. Tough break for him.
Man, that was an absolutely incredible race. These drivers just putting on quite the show, and we're going to try to get a word with Chad Morgan here. We'll move him up into the broadcast booth.
Thanks, bud.
Chad, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Man, that was one heck of a race. You and Clinton put on a heck of a show out there. Take us through some of those times where you two diced it up.
Yeah, it was good. It's fun to race on here with guys that kind of race like what we see in the real world, and he had a good car. I was worried about being too tight, maybe a little off the pace early. I kind of set up for late in the race, but we mixed it up, and he raced me clean. I had a heck of a time with that. It's tough hitting the bottom when it gets thin like that, but that's usually where I'm pretty good, and he was maybe a little bit better than me on the top, but I was able to not screw it up on the bottom, and had a real good race with him. That was a blast.
Yeah, we went on board with your car a couple times and actually made the comment that your car was really good on the bottom. The nose wasn't darting around. You were able to drive it down there and just really pin that front end and make a nice track through the turn.
Yeah, it's tough. It's kind of one of those things like Knoxville can be in the real world. Like in order to be really good on the bottom, you gotta kind of give up a little bit on the top. Like I'm too free to run the top, but it feels good and rotates the nose, and I can kind of stay close against the berm on the bottom. That's usually where I like to run when it gets slick, and it's tough. You got to be really patient down there, but if you get it right, it seems to be the best way once it gets slick.
How much are you having to trail brake the car at all to keep from blowing the tires off and really stick that bottom?
Yeah, I do. I run a little bit of brake on the entry, and then I just kind of tow it all the way through to the center, and then usually at the exit I'm not running the brake quite as much, but I am dragging it and running the brake a little bit entry to the center.
Boy, Tony, these guys put on a heck of a show here tonight. Any last words for our winner?
Well, I was just going to say, it was pretty awesome watching you run that thing around there, and for the second time in 3 weeks, you're a winner at Virtual Knoxville. Good job, bud.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
Congratulations to tonight's winner, Chad Morgan, and thank you all so much for tuning in to tonight's Lucas Oil eSport presentation from the virtual Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. We'll do it again next Friday night. We're scheduled to go to Kokomo Speedway in the virtual. And Tony Bachhoven, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We cannot go to Knoxville Raceway without having the voice of Knoxville.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to come on, and it was a great time. It was fun to get to announce with you again, and look forward to doing it for real here in a few weeks.
Of course, we will be at the Knoxville Raceway to kick off Southern Iowa Speed Weeks in the month of August 6th, 7th, and 8th, the 30th running of the Knoxville 360 Nationals. The My Hotels? The My Place Hotels.
Yes, My Place Hotels. Jeez.
Nationals, by Great Southern Bank, and of course, Great Southern Bank and Lucas Oil Products, great supporters of Knoxville Raceway, and of course, great supporters of the American Sprint Car Series, helping to bring you tonight's broadcast. On behalf of everybody with the Lucas Oil American Sprint Car Series, Knoxville Raceway, Tony Bachhoven joining me in the booth. My name is Brian Holbert, saying good night, good luck, God bless. We'll see you next Friday night at the virtual Kokomo Speedway. Good night, everybody.